Hello and welcome to day 2 of the 2017 Magic the Gathering World Championship. Maria Bartholdi alongside Rich Hagan and Paul Chian here at the news desk. We've got 24 of the best players in the world. Paul, what was the highlight for you from day 1?
I think the highlight was watching Christian Calcano play round 2 against Reed Duke. Christian just played out of his mind. I was incredibly impressed with not only the fact that he was able to make a pile of commons that nobody took work, but also just playing really well and just making these crazy bluff attacks against Reed Duke.
How about you, Rich?
I think it's just the competition. It's the fact that every round you have a Pro Tour champion against a Hall of Famer. You have players of the year going against each other, and they're not even in the top 4 matches of the round, and we don't even get them on camera, right? Because every match is just incredible Magic players against each other. That's great.
All right, Rich, why don't you run everybody through what's going to happen today?
Sure. So it's a little bit of an unusual format for the World Championship. Yesterday, we had 7 of our 14 Swiss rounds. That means you play against someone on the same record. Best 2 games out of 3 to claim the match. Once we hit the top 4, it'll be best 3 out of 5. Tomorrow, the team series turn up. They'll play in 2 groups of 3. More about that as we head down the day. But yesterday, we opened up with 3 rounds of Ixalan draft. And then we turned our attention yesterday afternoon to Standard, and there weren't many different decks. The pros seem to think alike. Today, we do it all again. We're about to see draft. Then it's Standard. The team series opens up our Sunday action for you. That's the appetizer for our main course. Just the $50,000 to give away in the team series final. And then it's the top 4 for Standard. And a whopping $100,000 prize check will go to the champion of the world for Magic the Gathering in 2017. And that on screen is all the goodness you could possibly want out of a weekend of Magic ahead and a day of Magic to remember from yesterday. So that's the way that the schedule shapes out.
Well, the goodness starts this morning with draft number 2. And Paul, you were in the booth yesterday for draft. What did we learn and what can we expect today?
You know, just before the draft started, when I was talking to a lot of the pros, they were like, aggression is the name of the game. And I don't think that's going to let up. I think everybody's going to look to be aggressive. There's many creatures in the format that basically want you to attack. There's not a lot of blocking going on. There are control decks that you can build, but it takes a lot more work to actually have that all pan out.
All right, Rich, constructed later on in the day, Standard. What are we looking for?
Well, 3 big things happened yesterday. Li Chan was the last player in the room to get a match win. He was at 0-4, but he finished the day at 3-4. So he's very much still alive for top 8. Needs to run the tables pretty much, but still alive. Number 2 comeback, Eric Froelich started out in draft 0-2 and down a game and started saying, wait, if I don't win any matches, do they take pro points away from me? He came right back. He's finished at 4-3. Great shape. He's going to be in the middle table of our 3 pods. And finally, I want to talk about one off-camera match. Yesterday, at 3-3, having battled all day, Owen Turtenwald faced Shota Yasuoka. That's an amazing matchup, right in the middle of the pack. 0-1, that means Shota probably needs 6-1 today, maybe even 7-0. Owen in much better shape with the winning record overnight. Maybe those 3 storylines, something to keep an eye on.
All right, let's take a quick look at our leaderboard, where we stand today. There you see it, the story of yesterday. William Huey Jensen sitting undefeated at 7-0. A whole mess of 5-2 behind him, as well as players at 4-3. Taking a look kind of at the last people in the standings there. Got a lot of work to do, working their way up, but it still could be potentially anybody's game if they manage to win out. All right, let's take a check on social media with Nate Price.
Thanks a bunch, Maria. Yeah, I figure I actually want to start today off where we ended yesterday with Huey Jensen and his perfect 7-0 record. People have been rooting for Huey this entire tournament, among the other great players in the field, and Huey being the very generous, very good guy that he is, made sure that he took to social media last night to thank everybody for the support and let them know that even though we started off undefeated, there's still a lot more work to do today. And he's not the only player who's looking to do additional work today. Brad Nelson made sure he let everybody know he did not run particularly well yesterday, but he also didn't play as well as he could have to be able to complain about that. So lots of players not in Huey's position looking to do as well as they possibly can today. I'd also like to let everybody know that we had a bunch of very helpful bots out there letting us know how we can gain additional followers. So thank you all to you members in the community for helping make hashtag MTGChamp trend to the point where it is now. Keep up the good work, and I will be checking back in with you guys around lunchtime today. So that's what I have for social media for now.
So, Paul Bot, Maria Bot, Rich Bot here with you. I think we're actually here with you from Boston for the World Championship. The players are over our shoulder and they are seated for the draft. It's an amazing draft pod one. It's not random like it was yesterday. It is the top 8 players. So, of course, William Jensen is there, but 7 other great players trying to knock him off his perfect record. Let's head down to the floor and hear from Tim Willoughby and Brian David Marshall.
Thanks, Rich. We have quite the table here, as one might expect in day 2 of the World Championship. Let's take a look at our 8 players that we have ready to play it out in this second draft. We're kicking things off with Sam Black. In 2007, he exploded onto the world scene by winning a car playing Magic. The next year, he was on Team USA.
Right next to him, you have former Player of the Year, Brad Nelson. And Brad is one of 2 players at this table who's already locked to be playing Magic on Sunday. Of course, he's part with Team Genesis for the Pro Tour Team Series.
Then we have Javier Dominguez of Spain. If you've not heard of this top pro points player from Spain, well, you can probably blame tiebreakers. He's had 2 9th places in the last couple of seasons.
Next to him, Kelvin Chu, Pro Tour Return to Ravnica, top 8 competitor, and one of the top constructed players on the Pro Tour this year.
Then we have Seth Manfield. Seth, one of the few players in this field to have already hosted a World Championship trophy, keen to do so again.
Next to him, Christian Calcano, someone who we got an exciting look at yesterday. And you know what, we're going to get a personal look at him today. He did a video piece with us. Keep an eye out for that later today.
Josh Utter-Layton, one of our 3 3-0 drafters from yesterday. They're on this pod as well. Hall of Fame elect, looking to run it back.
And then, of course, last but not least, the Hall of Famer, William Huey Jensen, 7-0, the only player in this field undefeated thus far. And I can tell you, he's ready to draft. We're ready to watch him draft. Let's send it to the booth. We've got Luis Scott Vargas and Marshall Sutcliffe ready to call all the action.
Hello there, welcome to the booth here at the Magic World Championship. That's Luis Scott Vargas, I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and it is our pleasure to bring you coverage here on day number 2. We've got booster draft lined up for you. This is the next 3 rounds, plus the draft we're going to be watching here as we work our way into day number 2. As you heard, a lot of the big storylines coming out revolve around William Huey Jensen and his undefeated streak. Of course, 3-0 yesterday in draft with kind of a scrappy red-white deck. We'll see what he can scrap together today, though.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that a lot of the other players are rooting for him, because once he locks his top 4 slot, the more wins he takes out of the field, the better for everyone else looking to kind of get in at 10-4, 9-5.
Looks like they're underway here. There we go. We got a Glorifier of Dusk pulled to the front of the pack here for Jensen. What other cards are jumping out to him? It looks like the only one he's really considering at this point, Luis.
Deadeye Tracker's interesting. It's a little bit slow, which is kind of funny to say for a 1-drop, but because it needs cards in the opponent's graveyard, it's not going to be active for a few turns.
Kind of interesting he's passing a Steadfast Armasaur here. Might be the next best card in the pack, also in the color of the card that he took. That happens sometimes. When you take a rare, you know, those uncommons, those really good premium commons can certainly share a color with it.
Definitely. There's also a Water Trap Weaver, which I wouldn't be surprised if that goes before the Armasaur, depending on what someone else has taken first.
Jensen is flanked by Josh Utter-Layton and Sam Black on his left and right-hand sides. He's right now passing to Josh.
So there's a second Water Trap Weaver, which is obviously a great pickup for whoever takes the first one, but the Emissary of Sunrise is by far the most interesting card. Yeah,
that card has really been impressive. 3 mana, you're at least getting a 2/1 first strike, which is worth the mana, but on top of it, if you can explore a non-land card, you've got a 3/2 first strike for 3, which tends to play very well in the format as it has become so combat-centric.
And what I like about these first 2 picks from Huey here is that he's got 2 just generically powerful cards. Glorifier of Dusk, Emissary of Sunrise. You can put those in red-white dinos, you can put those in black-white vampires, and either way they're going to be great.
Let's see what he picks up third.
And there's a reminder, because of the way Ixalan is structured, he is looking to most likely go red-white or black-white if he starts with 2 white cards.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think black-white is surging ahead here.
It is, yeah. He's got a Skymarch Bloodletter pulled to the front. The only white card in the pack, well, he's not even looking at it. He's just going to go for the Skymarch Bloodletter. That is the only card that he really saw there, and that is going to nudge him over towards vampires. Now, how much of a signal are you taking out of a Skymarch Bloodletter? You know, a mid to high level vampire card, but not a bomb.
Well, in this format, you know, getting a third pick Skymarch Bloodletter is more of a signal than you might think. There's just not a huge density of cards you're interested in picking in the first couple picks, and seeing the Bloodletter is a decent sign.
Ooh, this pack, though, nothing for Jensen here. And he's going to have to change course, at least for this one pick, to see what else might be open, because there was, what, Spreading Rot, I think, was the only card in his colors at all.
So there are 3 good red cards: Stormfleet, Pyromancer, Headstrong Brute, and the Arsonist. So he's going to get a chance to maybe see that red is a signal and take one of the red cards to lean towards potentially playing red-white. Or he could, depending on how things shake out, could go red-black still. That is one of the supported color combinations as well.
Yeah, he'd be pretty bummed to have to leave those first 2 picks behind. We'll see. Well, not a ton for him there, but there is another Headstrong Brute.
Which is a good follow-up to the first one, because you want 2 pirates in play in order to get Menace. And a big part of this format is figuring out what's open. So even though William started with 2 powerful white cards, if he doesn't see a white card in the next 3 picks, he might come to the conclusion that white is not where he should be.
And then he'd be looking at more of a red-black Pirates type build.
Or just starting with red Pirates and seeing what his second color is, depending on how this pack shakes out. If he somehow takes like 5 more red cards in a row, he's going to go into pack 2 with red-black or red-blue as potential opens.
Mm-hmm. There was a Kapala there, but another Headstrong Brute, so there's 3 Headstrong Brutes in a row, and it's also worth noting that it's 3 packs in a row as well that really didn't have anything notable in white or black. Lots of Kinjali's Collars, but that's not where Jensen wants to be.
Blue also seems quite open. He got past a Water Trap Weaver, he got past Depths of Desire, he's got past Kapala, which is not a huge signal, but it is a relevant Merfolk card, and I think that even though it's too late for William to go into blue, especially given that it doesn't combine, all the Merfolk cards don't combine very well with red, he is going to be aware that because blue is open, it's less likely that black or white is open, because it just narrows down to what the person to his right could be taking.
Here he has a Direfleet Interloper or a Dowsing Dagger. I'm curious to see which one Jensen takes here. He must really not be a huge fan of the dagger because, you know, a colorless card that helps combat would be a fine hedge in that scenario, but he just went for the black card Direfleet Interloper.
I think that dagger largely plays as a worse Pirates Cutlass, and wow, that's a really late Ruthless Knave.
Yeah,
so,
interesting.
Red-black seems like it could be open. He's picked up a bunch of Pirates in a row here. Is he considering the dual shot as well to maybe keep his options open?
I'm surprised by that. He must not value a Ruthless Knave very highly.
Yeah, that's the only conclusion I can think of, given that he just took a Direfleet Interloper as well.
I mean, the truth is that it plays most often like a 3-2 for 3. And here's a Deadeye Tormentor with a couple of mediocre red cards in the form of Suncrown Hunters and Hijack at the back of the pack. So he's going to go for the Tormentor here.
I think it is most likely that...
Surprised he didn't take that Knave.
Yeah, I am too. He must like dual shot a lot more than we do. I think it is most likely that William is just going to be red-black Pirates here.
Does seem to be the case. He takes a Queen Space Soldier here. Little curve pick. That card's fine. That card sees play. Only flavor text on it, but...
Well, it's got a relevant.
Vampire. Or Bay.
Mostly Vampire.
All right. Sailor means here for Jensen as he winds down pack number 1. So you were saying that if you were sitting in his seat, you're thinking red-black at this point is your most likely?
I believe so. There's not been a relevant white card.
Yeah, there hasn't been. So he's likely to get decent white coming in the other direction here from Josh Utter-Layton's side. You know, what if he opened a white bomb here? Would that be enough?
Vona, Butcher of Magan, or something along those lines. I could see taking it and just knowing you're not going to get a pack 3. But the problem is this format has a low enough density that I think that's just quite the gamble.
It really is, yeah. And you can see as he fans out his picks, they were in order originally there, and there's a huge glut of both red and black cards in the middle. That really did seem to be the lane that he's supposed to be in for this seat, and it certainly didn't feel like white was where he wanted to be.
Well, one reason not to take the Ruthless Knave is just looking at the fact that he's had 3 Headstrong Brutes already. He has and a Skymarch Bloodletter has a lot of 3-drops, so it might be that he just wanted something to lower his curve.
That makes sense too.
But at the end of pack 1, I think that William has identified that red is open and likely black in the form of pirates at the very least is open. So I think he's in a good spot here. He didn't pass a lot of cards of these colors. He passed a lot of blue. Didn't actually see much green either. I don't recall green seeming like it was an appealing place to go.
Not
so
at all.
I think the most likely place that William ends up is going to be red-black. He has a potential. The good thing about red-black is white pairs with either of those colors as well. So he has a potential to end up white depending on how he opens here.
If this pack is just insane in white. 'Cause
Right, if he picks
knows
up
the third
5
pack's
good
gonna
white
be
cards.
bad for him in white, right? Like, has to be planning on that.
If there's a double-faced card in your
Of course,
pack,
this format is in very many ways really dependent on you finding which colors you're supposed to be in and making that work. And it feels like Jensen has done a good job of settling on the 2 most open colors for his seat thus far. And let's see how this next pack goes. This is the one that's really going to solidify him in red-black or maybe push him in another direction. There's another Brute, a Pyromancer, Bonded Horncrest.
Ixalan's Binding as likely the best card in the pack.
Oh, yeah.
But
well, this will give us a good idea about how Jensen feels about, you know, basically giving up pack 3 in white. If he just goes for the Horncrest, we'll know.
Given how many 3-drops he has, I could see just taking the Horncrest here. In an aggressive deck full of creatures, Horncrest is quite powerful.
It really is, yeah. That card's been impressive, and he is going to go ahead and skip on the Ixalan's Binding here.
5 seconds.
And I'll tell you what, somebody to the right is going to be happy because somebody was taking all those white cards. Might have been Sam Black directly to his right.
Cards that you can run in.
Well, if Sam cut off white successfully, then this is his reward.
In the meantime,
35 seconds.
it feels like Josh might have ended up in blue.
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
There's another Skymarch Bloodletter.
Oh, and there's a Hostage Taker. I would be surprised if William did not just take the Hostage Taker here.
Wow.
The red-black has decent outs to treasure, and Hostage Taker is potentially the best card in the entire format. So Josh
You got to take a shot.
Josh must be drafting a pretty focused deck to not take Hostage Taker. Josh is either drafting a deck that doesn't touch blue or black, or he's drafting something like blue-green Merfolk, which just does not want to splash.
Just can't afford to have an extra
Draft.
basic land in
There
there
are
of
12 cards
a
to
different
run.
type.
Well, I can tell you that that pack is really good news for both William and Josh. And the reason is William gets a Hostage Taker,
You have
card is
30
excellent.
seconds.
And Josh must have gotten something actually quite good to pass Hostage Taker. He would not have done that without good reason. Because if the pack was weak, he would just take it and speculate.
Hey, Fiery Cannonade actually looks pretty good for Jensen here. He's got
yeah.
a few pirates and a bunch of 3 toughness creatures on top of it. So, as we call it, Pirate Clasm looks pretty good. Card's a blowout against some of the decks in the format, namely Vampires. Really hates to see a Fiery Cannonade.
This card is excellent against Vampires, excellent against Merfolk. Not very good against Dinosaurs and clearly not good against Pirates, but against half the decks in the format, it's one of your best cards.
Are those Vampires that are getting blown up on the artwork there?
They are. They have a wall of some of their fort is
Wow,
getting
and it's 3 of them?
bombarded.
It's Call to the Feast just
Yeah.
getting wiped off the board. I like that. Nice work, artist. Looks like Ben Wooten. Great job.
All right, so
Oh, there's that Water Trap Weaver. What is that doing in the pack?
it seems
Shouldn't Josh... Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it?
it seems less likely that Josh is playing blue given the Water Trap Weaver there, especially Merfolk.
Brazen Buccaneers here for Jensen.
It's a nice little follow-up to something like a Headstrong Brute.
Yeah, just a solid pickup. Nothing too exciting.
I think Jensen may have considered Sailor of Means because he could end up being something like red-blue splashing black, but he's got enough black cards that he'd rather just take the red card and stay the course.
Oh, this is interesting now. Look what he's picked up here, a potential Dragon Skull Summit, or he can go for the Direfleet Hoarder, which is another way to potentially splash for that.
He certainly has to take the Direfleet Hoarder there. He just needs
He's a
more
little
2
low
drops.
on 2s, right?
He's
Yeah.
got the Queen's Bay Soldier as his 2-drop right now, and he would like to pick up a bunch more.
Yeah, you can get a sense for that when you draft a lot. You have little alarm bells that go off in the back of your head about what do I need, and definitely 2 drops are on the list here for Jensen. Fathom Fleet Firebrand, that type of card he'd like to pick up here in the middle part of the pack. And he doesn't get much here, does he?
There's a lot of green cards here too. So
Yeah, I saw a Pounce and a Thundering Spineback in the pack. Trove of Temptation is an interesting rare, uncommon, but it doesn't really play very well with Jensen's game plan of trying to attack And his deck doesn't block super well with all of those headstrong brutes. So he's not going to want to pick up that.
He's not super likely to play Sun Crown Hunters either.
Yeah, too expensive for his deck. Though it's not impossible. And, you know, we have seen that occasionally you get a little low on playables. This is an interesting pick for him because he's really concerned about his low curve, but March of the Drowned's a pretty good card in a Pirates deck, too.
Also, if you March of the Drowned back a Hostage Taker,
Oh,
it just feels
that's not
incredible.
Come on, Luis. Give him a chance.
Draft. Layout
So that late Absecon Archer kind of indicates Josh isn't likely to be green either, so...
Did Josh move into white off of that Armasaur and just hang on for dear life? It seems unlikely.
Yeah, I don't think so, but...
We're kind of eliminating too many colors, though, aren't we?
5 seconds.
I still think there's a chance that Josh is Merfolk and just let a Water Trap weave through it.
Okay.
Because Merfolk is a color combination that would not splash Hostage Taker.
That's true.
Because if
It's such a curve-out based deck.
oh wow, that was a great pickup.
Drowned Catacomb there for Jensen. That is going to make that splash even easier.
Though of note, I caught a glimpse of a Jade Guardian in that pack that makes it way less likely that Josh is Merfolk. So
I cannot figure out what Josh is in.
You have 10 seconds.
There's no colors left. Is he mono red?
I think that Josh I don't think he could be black-white. I think that would be difficult to be.
Yeah, white would just be hard.
White would hard and would be hard, and Josh didn't see a lot of black in pack 1 either. There was no reason for him to be that particular color combination.
Also, that pack, Jensen, well, actually, that was the one he opened.
Oh, that's a nice late Stormfleet Arsonist. So red is open at this table.
Drafts.
Agreed.
You have 3 cards to your right. You have
Well, now I
5
can't wait to
seconds.
see what Josh is drafting. Also, sitting 1 seat further down the row there from Josh is Christian Calcano. And you are going to get a chance to see his draft. We're going to be playing that one
You
back
have 5 seconds. Pick up your
at the
draft.
news desk. Queen's Agent, not really what Jensen wants to see, but that is a playable card in a
Look
pinch.
at the final card. We will now begin the
You know,
second
this is not looking that bad for Jensen. I mean, he does want to pick up some lower curve cards, some 2-drops to fill out his curve. And, you know, he isn't super heavy on removal. He would like to see a few burn spells or
Oh, you
contract
picked up a
killings
late
and
Wily
stuff.
Goblin.
Yeah, he did.
That helps to splash.
It does. He is
Hostage
primary
taker.
red right now, too.
William has not seen a whole lot of good black cards. His black cards are very, very, very replaceable. Queen's
Yeah.
Base Soldier, Skymarsh Bloodletter. These are not cards you're excited about, but they're going to fill out his curve, and then he's not going to be able to go into blue at this point. So I think he's going to end up red-black. He's going to splash Hostage Taker off of Treasure and Drowned Catacomb. And his deck looks pretty solid.
It does. Like I said, I think the removal is light. He doesn't really have much of it at all. So he will be prioritizing that, as I'm sure he has the entire draft. And then the 2-drops. You know, he'd like to fill out his curve a little bit here and make sure that he can apply
30
some pressure.
seconds.
Well, that's what the Wily Goblin is for.
Yeah, right.
Well, the fact that Wily Goblin gives his 3 Headstrong Brutes menace, that is relevant.
It is. It is.
That is a nice little advantage. The fact that it makes a treasure and helps you splash Hostage Taker. You can get it back with March of the Drowned to get the full value.
Yeah, I do expect to see him play Wily Goblin. Generally speaking, you need a little bit of a reason because you have to kind of warp your mana to make it
5
playable
seconds.
in a timely fashion. But in Jensen's deck, it's fine even a little bit later in the game. Turn 4 or 5, he can use it to turn on those Headstrong Brutes.
Pick
Cast
up a
Message
draft
Taker.
label C and remove the wrapper.
Okay, one more pack to go here. We're drafting Triple Ixalan here at the World Championship. We're watching William Huey Jensen, who, by the way, is undefeated overnight.
I think there's a chance that Josh could be red-white as well.
If you have any
That he took that
double
Armasaur. Yes, that makes sense.
That is because that's one of the color combinations would not try to splash Hostage Taker. It looks like
Yep.
we opened double-faced card, and it is Search for Azcanta.
we will now begin drafting.
Well, he's not playing that one in
Standout
Standard.
constructed card.
That's right, and he won't be playing it here in Limited, but let's see what he's got. Is that a Deathless Ancient that he's pulled to the front? It looks like it.
He
Flash
has,
of
and
Raptors.
I think that we're at a stage in this draft and in this format where 2-mana 2/2 is just so competitive with 6-mana 4/4 flyer that I think it's going to be the 2-mana 2/2 that gets picked.
Yeah, he just needs it. There was a Thrash of Raptors, but once again, his curve is really what he's paying attention to. And Jensen will not be thrilled to be taking a Queen's Bay Soldier here, pack 3, pick 1. But you do what you got to do. Oh, he's now considering the Deathless Ancient. There is a big power level difference there, but it is not a particularly efficient card.
He's got some treasure, so yeah.
And he decided to be an adult and take the Queen's Bay Soldier here. Oh, sometimes you do what you got to do for your curve.
Look, he's got his dessert. He's got hostage taker. He's got to eat his vegetables now.
That's right. Skittering Heartstopper, Direfleet, Interloper.
Marauding Looter. If he's going to splash, having 2 cards to splash is not the worst, and Marauding Looter is quite powerful.
I see a Swashbuckling in the pack that will surely make it through Josh and right into Calcano's hands. Did he take the Looter there?
He did.
It's like it.
Five seconds.
And William strikes me as someone who would loot after he plays that card. He would opt to loot every turn.
Lay out 12 cards to your left.
We'll see.
Well, it depends. If his hand is really good, maybe.
No, stop it, Luis. You know better.
You have 30 seconds. Pick up your pack.
Oh,
Ooh, a Lightning Strike. That fits both of the bills that we had. He wants 2 drops and removal. He found a 2-drop.
And there's a Fathom Fleet Firebrand and an Unfriendly Fire in the pack.
Yeah.
Would not be surprised if the Firebrand wheeled. Because I do not think there's 3 red drafters at the table. There might be, but given the fact that Stormfleet Arsonist, Wily Goblin, these cards came around quite late, it would not shock me if William gets that 2-drop back. That was an insanely good pack for him, and he knows the 2 people to his right are just not red if they're passing Lightning Strike. It's just so unlikely that's how it ends up. With the rare in the pack still, the Tillinolly's Skin Shifter.
I think, if he gets that Fathom Fleet Firebrand back, he will be really happy with that. There's a Tillinolly's Knight. Oh, but another removal spell, and he really is light on removal.
He's
so
getting
Vanquish
paid
the Weak
off
it
here.
is. Yeah, this is actually turning out pretty good. This 3rd pack has been the best one so far for him.
Yeah, his first pick of Queen's Bay Soldier by far his worst card so far.
Definitely.
5 seconds.
I am curious, Luis. Jensen 7-0.
Drafts.
That's
Lay
right.
out 10
Is he?
cards to your left.
Does he change his draft strategy in any way?
It does not. He's still just looking to maximize how many wins he gets in the draft.
You have 25 seconds to pick up your pack.
It's weird how it messes with your head. You're like, oh, just hang on to this. And there's another 2-drop for Jensen.
Wow, this pack is really working out for him.
Yeah, Direfleet Hoarder there.
Because Jensen already had the power level. Hostage Taker's very powerful. March of the Drowned gives him a good late game plan. Triple Headstrong Brute means that he's got a really good attacking force. He just needed 2s, and he's picked up 2-drop, 2-drop, 2-drop here, and that is just perfect.
Yeah, he does see a Heartless Pillage, which is a card he'd like. He's right now looking at the virtual deck list in his head, but he knows that the 2-drops are where he wants to be. I'll tell you what, if he gets that Fathom Fleet Firebrand back in a few picks here too, he is going to just slam it on the table. All right, that's an interesting one. A Raptor Hatchling. What do you make of that in this deck?
No, it's not the most aggressive of 2-drops. It only attacks for 1 point of damage, but it is just so good against a lot of opposing starts that I think that William's going to be happy to pick it up. Basically, what it's weak against is evasion, because if your opponent's flying over it or has unblockable creatures like Merfolk, it doesn't end up doing that much.
And in fact, he's going to skip on it. He says, you know what, I want to be beating down here. I want to be assertive. I'm just going to take another Brazen Buccaneers.
His curve also might be low enough to the point here that he doesn't actually have to worry as much about having very cheap cards.
Another Ruthless Knave is going to go to the wayside here, but this makes sense because this is a sure strike, and this would be his first combat trick of note, no Skullduggery here. For,
William has not seen, he actually hasn't even seen a Skullduggery or a sure strike so far, I don't believe.
I haven't seen one.
And as a result, he really wants to pick up a combat trick, especially given that deck lists are known. Just having one combat trick in your deck opens the door for you to bluff. You can't bluff if you don't have one in your pool. Your opponents are going to know that.
You have 15 seconds.
Yeah, it is interesting because we do just assume that you'll have it. Wow, another Fiery Cannonade?
That is a very good pickup because that just shores up William's matchup against Vampires and Merfolk to a very high degree.
Yeah, now he has 2 of them. I'm curious to see how many, if any, he ends up starting in the main deck versus bringing it out of the sideboard. I mean, it's a playable question, but that's going to be interesting too.
My guess is he starts both, especially if Red seems underdrafted at this table. Because, and wow, Deathless Agent came back around. There must be nobody drafting Vampires because that pack had no real cards of note for that deck, right? There was not like a great white card in that pack.
Nope.
Interesting. I'm very curious to see how this table breaks down.
Yeah, I cannot wait to look at these deck lists.
Well, that makes the Fiery Cannonade actually a little bit worse. If you don't think anyone's on Vampires, you have to put more people on Pirates because it spans more colors, maybe Dinosaurs because it spans more colors. And still, red-white aggro can be soft to Fiery Cannonade, but a lot of their creatures have 3 toughness, like Territorial Hammer Skull, and unfortunately the Fathom Flick Firebrand did not come back around.
Not getting that one back. And he doesn't really have a playable out of this pack. Though that was a Queen's Commission, which is another reasonable Vampire card that's going quite late here. He's going to take an Unknown Shores, though I think he's got his fixing well sorted. And
yeah, double Direfleet Hoarder, Wily Goblin, Drowned Catacomb is almost already enough by itself. Stormfleet Pyromancer with 2 cards left in the pack, and is really pretty reasonably likely to make it into William's deck list.
He did pick up a red card last. I couldn't quite see what it was, but you know, this went pretty well for Jensen all told. It was a demolish. It looks like, you know, I have to say that was a really solid draft from Huey there, right? You know, he took his time to find his picks. Like, let's not forget, his first 2 picks were white.
Yeah,
like,
and they were very
good
good white cards.
Nope, we're off of it, and he moved off of that effectively immediately, and he never looked back, including the Ixalan's binding. He's like, nah, don't even need it. All right, well, that is going to do it, of course, for our booster draft. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more booster draft action, and then we'll be getting into the rounds. We'll see you in just a little bit.